Hello, everyone. This is Lynns, and I'm back for another inspiring conversation today. And just as a reminder, if you haven't met me before, professional women and women entrepreneurs hire me to transform their energy because they're tired of being stuck, and I help them go to unstoppable. And I've just completed actually a masterclass in practical energy, which I recorded. And if you want to it's free. You can, if you'd like to watch that, you can just go to my website and you can access that. Anyway, I'm thrilled today to be talking to Lynn Whitbeck, who is the queen of sales. And sales is often a dirty word. And I remember when I first started my business, it was the thing that I really pushed against. And it's something that I know many women in particular have an issue with. So I'm really excited to welcome Lynn and dive into this topic of sales, particularly as it pertains to women. So Lynn, thank you for being here with me today.
Well, Linda, thank you. It's great to be here, and I love having our all the different conversations we have, and really appreciate this opportunity to
Yeah.
talk with your audience.
Yeah, thank you. Well, would you just share a little bit about your background, how you came to be the queen of sales?
Well, business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to help them implement sales strategy because most are chasing down clients. They're stuck in a chaotic sales cycle, and they're lacking client conversions and profits. So what I do is I help them bring order to that chaos. And I want to talk specifically, when we think about women in sales, we're guiding people to a decision. I want everyone to take that moment right now to reframe your mindset about sales, because we've all had that experience of sleazy sales and manipulative sales. And how that's really what we're pushing up against, because it's just so false and it's not who we want to be. And
Right.
when we come as our authentic and genuine self, and we are leading with worthy intent, which means that we truly desire to help and serve others, that's where sales then becomes a natural part of the process, because we are there to help them, to guide them. And part of that requires making a decision so that they can move forward to have the impact that we can deliver in their lives, in their business, in their careers, whatever it is that you're doing. So I want to sort of preface it with this conversation that let's flip the switch. You have to know the rules to change the rules. So ladies, let's change the rules.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And what made the difference, it's what made the difference for me when I started to think of it not as trying to sell something to someone, but rather you're sharing what you do, how you can help somebody, and then inviting them to participate if it's the right fit for them. But it's more of it is a conversation. It's a relationship. I mean, you have to do the inviting, because otherwise how do they know how they can work with you or how they can benefit from what you offer? But I mean, I've certainly, when I used to think of sales, when my husband and I first moved to the US and we had to buy a car, and we bought a secondhand car, and it was that typical secondhand car salesman. It was one of the worst experiences we've ever had. And then I remember another time there was a pest control company, coming around the neighborhood. They knocked on the door. We opened the door, and this guy just launched into his spiel, barely drew breath. I mean, he didn't know anything about us. He was just saying, people in the neighborhoods, we're working with them, and this is why you should use us. He didn't know if we already had a company we were working with. He didn't know if we had a problem with pests. He didn't know anything. And we couldn't get a word in. and that's what people tend to think of, I think, when they think of sales, isn't it?
Yeah, often, unless you've had that experience of working with sales professionals who truly are there to serve and guide and provide that solution, and they're a partner. It's a win-win. There's fit on both sides. And when you're in that type of relationship, it's not sales, it's a partnership. And
Mm.
they have a service, a product or service that they provide that you need, and they make sure that they deliver the impact for your organization, for you personally, that will really help you move forward, whether it's in your business, in your life, as I said, or in your career.
I like that. It is really a partnership. And so, one of the things I think, it is about building relationship, but you have to know the person rather than jumping in and trying to immediately telling them, this is what I have, this is what I do. That's all about you. You want to make it about them and learn about them, because you don't know yet if what you have can be of service to them. Sometimes people, I think, just assume, oh, what I have is great, it can help everybody, and they just try to sell it to everybody.
Yeah, the number one thing that I see in sales, I mean, there's a couple of different things, but it's very common that you see people who are putting themselves and their solutions and what they do, how they fix things or how they solve problems first, rather than start with the client and what is the client thinking. And I want everyone to take this moment right now to sort of stop and think about your client and what are they thinking? What do they want, need, or lack? You know, why does that matter to them? How is it going to benefit them? What's the problem it's going to allow them to solve, the concern that they can address, you know? And then what is it going to enable them to do? What is that outcome? What does that future look like so they can? So they can what? All right. And when you go through that exercise, it's really a 3-part exercise, and you really identify those things. Now, all of a sudden, you've really put yourself in the client's shoes. And then what do you do? And obviously, this conversation is around what you do to begin with. And so you start to look at that and say, well, how does this, what I do, fit what they want, need, or lack? How do I solve their pain points? How do I provide them with the solution or address the problem or the concern that they have? You know, how do I help them achieve or reach what they want, you know, so that they can? And that's that, what's that outcome that they're seeking that you deliver? And so then when you reframe what you do and how you do it into your client's thinking and your client's language, and that just, it isn't just at the beginning and the spark, and that's part of the asking questions, finding out what's going on for them in their world, in their life, in their business, so that you can determine, are you a good fit for them in the sense of moving forward with a professional partnership? Are or are they just a wonderful another human being that you want to stay connected with, their relationship? They could become a referral partner. They could be someone who would promote you and your services. They could become a friend. So, but when you identify and match up that, yeah, they need what I have to offer, they would be a good fit for my program. And then it's like, okay, well, let's continue the conversation. And then you're guiding them through that conversation so that they can make a decision that they want that outcome and they desire to make this change in their life so they can have the impact that it's going to deliver. So that's really, when you think about the client thinking and their journey, it's not about you, it's about your client.
Right.
When you flip that switch, and that's actually easier for women to do, for most women, because we are, we're socialized to be givers, to be supporters, to be helpful, right? So it's when you do that, you are selling on your relationship. It's a relationship sale, and it's really not a sale. It's a partnership. It's a relationship. And I have to say that I've been doing this my entire sales career, and that included my corporate career where I was literally being flown all over the world to close multi-million-dollar deals. And when I went in, I needed to spend a month getting to know the client and who they were and what mattered to them, and why it mattered to them and what they were looking to achieve or accomplish. And then I could help the salesperson who is working with that client reframe how we were doing the presentation so that it matched up with what the client, and made sure that it was a good fit, that we were going to be able to deliver what they needed, what they wanted. And it's a transformation that you need to be very aware of, and that you can then achieve that. And so when you do that, the client thinking also at different stages of the sale also changes. Someone who's just met you and you've got that spark of interest on both sides, that is a different place of where they're thinking than when you're in a final discussion or presentation about them moving forward.
Mm.
And because at that point, they've already validated who you are. They've already
Mhm.
determined that you're qualified, that you're capable, that you're competent, that you can deliver what they want. So they're looking for something different. They're really looking, is this the right fit? Is this going to help me achieve what I need, want, or lack, and that desired outcome? And is
Mm.
this going to be, there other components start coming in. What's the time frame? How much support am I going to receive? It really is about, is this the right fit for me for now at this time in my life, in my career, in my business?
Well, you made an important point. You said that you spent time building relationships, and sometimes that might take a month. And I think one of the things that people feel sometimes is that if it's not immediate, then they failed somehow. But it's not about doing, you just meet someone and then you just sell them something. It does take time to build those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And just think about it. I mean, how many times do you meet someone for coffee and then decide to get married the next day? I mean, that just doesn't happen. I
No.
mean, almost now, maybe in a rom-com,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
basically that isn't real life.
Right.
And it takes time and energy. And part of that is that you as the salesperson are building the credibility, your like, know, and trust factors with the client, and
Mm.
you are establishing yourself in their eyes, that you're going to be there, that you're
Mm.
doing the follow up, that
Mm.
you're checking in, and that you are delivering value, and they're getting a taste. It's sort of like a sip of coffee. Each step of the way, you keep drinking that coffee down because they're getting to know who you are and how you're going to, what it's going to be like to work with you, and how you're going to serve and support them. And that building that relationship, then you're guiding them to the close, and it's much easier for them to make that decision because you've built that all along the way of that. They're the building blocks of the relationship. So when you ask for a decision, they're ready to make that decision and move forward with you.
Yeah, because they know you, they feel comfortable with you, they feel they know everything they need to know and how you can help them. And it's not about sort of a sales strategy or learning sales techniques so much. I've worked with several women, particularly, who have been in corporate careers, very successful in sales or marketing, incredibly successful, closed big deals, and are used to doing that. And then they start their own business, and they assume because, well, I'm good at that, I was really successful there, so now I'm going to be successful here. And then sometimes they're shocked to discover that they're not, and their business struggles. And I think it's because, when you're in a corporate environment, you're selling for somebody else. And now when you start your business, it feels like, oh, now I'm selling me. And that has a whole different energy to it. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely can see the truth in that. Now, I do want to go back and say one thing is that I feel that the most important investment someone can make is figuring out their sales strategy,
Hmm.
and building that roadmap. And that starts with thinking like the client. And that's
Mm.
one of your core foundations. You've got 4 foundational pillars: thinking like your client. And then from there, your client avatar and your market. And from then your client journey. What's the journey going to look like? You want to create a delightful client journey, and also be able to plan and seed, how you're going to be building that relationship. And of course, the relationship is the 4th pillar of your strategy. And then you start stacking everything else on top. But when you do that, it's going to make it easier for you. Things are going to become natural. They're going to become part of your DNA. And it's like, you're at this stage in the relationship, and you've had these different conversations. You know exactly what to pull from your kit, for follow-up, to keep the conversation moving, to move it forward.
Mm.
And but the second part of your question is, there is absolutely a difference. It depends on, for me in my career, I was very entrepreneurial, and I always viewed it as I was selling how I was going to take and manage their business, or
Mm.
the business that I had with them, and how I was going to take care of my client. So it wasn't a difficult transition for that, for me. But I can absolutely see, and I've seen that myself, because they're selling a very specific, and they may have been trained in this way of this type of solution and who they're working with. And the other thing is they're really used to working in situations where they're selling to a whole room, right?
Mm,
In the sense of everyone at that table has to buy in to move forward with an enterprise level solution. That's a very different selling process than one-on-one selling, if that makes sense. I mean, there's
yeah.
just different dynamics, and
Yeah.
it's not that from a corporate level. You also are usually working with a team.
Mm,
You've got a team that's going to be onboarding and executing and implementing, et cetera, et cetera. So it is it's a different component. I mean, it's a different animal. It's still
mm,
sales, and the core principles of sales about building rapport and the value of the relationship, all of that is still true. And
mm,
in fact, I really there's a lot of things that you can take from that world. Specifically, I've taken the quarterly business reviews, and I've uh, transferred that so that it can be used in a different format, for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small businesses, because it's still an incredible way to make that existing client relationship stronger, to extend the relationship, get into some other areas that you can be helping or serving them, and to receive warm referrals.
mm. Okay, you mentioned warm referrals. So there's a difference. So if you're receiving, explain a warm referral. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, so a warm referral is so that I mean, a referral is a referral,
Mm,
but there are different types of referrals. There's referrals that are very impersonal, where they might send out, put a social post up that says, I work with Linda. It's been an incredible experience. I really recommend, her services. That's a referral. It's very valuable. It's a testimonial, but it's not the same as a warm referral. A warm referral is a direct introduction.
okay.
And so, I'd say, hey, Linda, I'd like you to meet Kathy. I really believe that Kathy could use your specific services. She's at this point in her life. She really needs to focus internally on her energy and how she is presenting herself in the world. And Kathy, I have to tell you, from my knowledge of what Linda does and how she works with her clients, she is going to make a real impact for you right now and in your future. And I highly recommend that you have this conversation.
Mm,
So that's a personal introduction, and
mm,
that is a warm referral. And
right.
because now I have given my authority, my ethos, my personal relationship with Kathy to recommend you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's that type of referral is your close rate on that type of referral is incredibly high.
Mm,
Um, the guiding them to a decision, because they like, know, and trust me. If I have recommended something, they're going to go, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. Right.
mm,
I mean,
right.
sometimes I get this if I recommend a tool to someone, some kind of new tool, and they're going, okay, what was that? And I got to try that. I got to get that. And it's just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's still that a warm recommendation.
Right.
And so, and that referrals are one of your, is a, are a huge profit driver. But when I talked about mapping your client journey, one of the things you want to do with referrals is you want to be seeding referrals from the very first spark, an initial conversation, and then all the way through the conversation, so that when you've earned the right and you ask for the referral, it's not a surprise to them at all. In fact, they've been waiting for you to ask them for a referral,
Mm,
so that they can provide that. And then you also want to make it easy, for them to provide that referral. And then you want to recognize and reward that behavior so that it will be repeated. Once someone becomes a referral resource for you, they are 4 times more likely to continue to drive and provide referrals for you. And then the same thing, people who are referred to you and become a client, they're more likely to become referral partners for you in the future. And
mm,
so you can create, it's one of the most powerful ways to build your business long term. The key thing is to plan for the referrals in your sales process and in your relationship, as that you move forward, so that, and then, you just sort of figure that out. How am I going to introduce that? How am I going to seed it throughout the conversations? How has it become natural? You're not reading from a script, people.
Right,
It just
right.
becomes part of your personal DNA and part of who you are. So it's a natural. And then how do you recognize and reward, and how do you then perpetuate that ability, foster that desire and ability for your raving fans to provide you with those referrals?
That's a really good and important point, that it should, referrals should be a part of your whole process. And you said something very interesting, like it's like people are wanting to give you referrals. It's almost like they're waiting for you to ask them. Um, I think we often forget that. I know I do. I do, because like you work with someone and it goes great, and then you're so thrilled for them, and then you're on to the next thing. You kind of forget. I often forget to ask for that, and so that's a really good reminder for me that I've got to incorporate that so that it's part of the whole process. That's a very good point.
Yeah, and that can also be incorporated into, and to your point. So if I'm going to say, if you don't ask, you don't get. It's the same thing. If
Mm,
you don't ask for a decision, you're not going to get the sale. You've got to ask for these things. It's
mm,
sort of like asking for help when you're cleaning up after dinner. If you don't
right.
ask, people aren't going to just necessarily volunteer.
Mm,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but for that, it's really important that you think through that. And then it's like, well, let's schedule a call for 1 month down the road, just to see how everything's going, answer any other questions that you might have. And then when you get on that call, you're asking, how are they doing, if they need any tips right now in that moment of anything that they're experiencing some either pre-existing or new challenges. And then you remind them about the impact that they've had, where they're at now, and then what they're looking for and need in the future. And with that conversation is, who do they know? So you've reminded them about all the progress they made and how
Mm,
great they are and what their future looks like because of the work that you've done to them. Who do they know that would be a good fit, that you could help and
yeah,
serve.
yeah.
And so that is really another part of the puzzle, is to make sure that you're continuing to do that. Not only at sort of like, depending on what type of program you have, and then that can also be incorporated into other types of personal messaging, a type of check-in cadence after graduated from your program or from working with you. It depends on how you structure your business, and that you can continue to ask for those referrals. So I used quarterly business world reviews in the corporate world as one aspect of that. It also allowed me to expand and find out what was going on in their world, so that I could then in
Mm,
turn provide them with a solution and put forward a proof of concept that I could get in the ground floor on a new initiative,
mm.
so that I would get that business before anybody even had a whiff of it.
Yeah, yeah. So staying in touch with them, not only gives you the opportunity to for new business, but it makes them feel good, because it shows you really care about them, and you still, it wasn't just about selling them that thing. Um, that you're staying in touch with them to, to want to know what's going on with them, what new things, what's new and exciting, and what's happening for them, and how could you possibly help them if they need it. And then they already know and trust you, so they're much more likely to want to continue to work with you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's also in a B2B environment, often the business owner or the executives who brought you in, you are not actually working with them on a day-to-day. So the other really powerful piece about this is that you bring the executives, the business owner or the president, et cetera, back into the conversation at these quarterly business reviews, because then they really sort of have that high level visibility about what you've accomplished, where you're at now. You also give girls to the individuals you have been working with
Mm,
about the accomplishments for their boss, right? Their
mm,
superiors. You're really reminding them about why they brought you in, about the success that you've delivered, and about why they need to continue to work with you, to have
Right.
these types of this progress that's been made.
Yeah.
And then of course you're using that opportunity to find out what's new for in their world. And that
Yeah.
should be half the conversation is
Yeah.
about them again.
Yeah.
It's always about them, even
Always
the
about them.
accomplishments they made, and
Yeah.
about the progress and where they're at right now and where they're headed. It's still, it's in the client. It's what matters to them. Perception is everything.
It
So
is.
always keep that in mind, that it's what's going on in your client's world, not you.
Yeah. Well, and something else you said earlier, one, you've got to ask, and two, you've got to make it easy for them. I can remember being on a call one time. It was a webinar and it was about book publishing. And it was full of really good information. And at the end of it, I was expecting the person to say, and, I have this program, or here's how you can get in touch with me if you want more information or something like that. But there was none of that. And I was left at the end of the thing, I actually want to talk to this person and I don't know how. And I had to, because she was being interviewed by somebody else, I had to really go and research and find out how to get in touch with this person. And I eventually did, but it was hard work for me. And, so you want to make it easy for people.
Yeah. So how many opportunities did she lose? So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the things about having a sales strategy of, and whatever platform you're on, is making sure that you provide people at the end, either a way to connect with you, a direction to a lead magnet, a resource that they can then opt in, and you can start that, a very passive funnel relationship with individuals. But you have to have that planned so
Mhm.
that you've got some place for people to go to connect with you, so that you can then move the conversation forward. And I would like to point out one thing, please, everyone. So if you're on one of the, like I have a networking event, which is coming up in 2 weeks. And so I
Yes.
have this
And we
networking
want to know
event.
about that.
But one of the things is you make these genuine connections. If anybody's doing this, please just stop sending the connection request and then immediately bombarding them with what you do and asking them to schedule a meeting, and giving them your whatever your scheduling app is, Calendly, Acuity, whatever it happens to be.
Mm.
Okay, because you have no relationship. That's just literally the same thing. You just met this person, you took a sip of coffee, and now you're trying to pour the whole pot down their throat and it's boiling hot. I mean, just don't do it. Just stop, okay?
Mm.
Because what you're doing is that it's like you take this beautiful meal, this beautiful plate of spaghetti with garlic bread and asparagus, and you just took it and threw it against the wall, and you're going to see if something sticks.
Mm.
Well, most of it fell on the floor, so you can't even eat it. Even the 5-second rule is yuck, So, so I
Yeah.
want you to think about you just taking that opportunity, that spark, and you spoiled it.
Yeah.
And for often you've literally, if you do that to me, you're dead to me. I'm
Yes.
just going to tell you right now,
Yeah.
because you've had spent. And then the other lame thing is like, oh, tell me more about what you do and your business. And it's like, okay, did you take 5 minutes? I mean, I'm 5 minutes to
Mm.
look at my LinkedIn profile and my website.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
You are not a person I want to work with,
Right. Right. I mean, you
And
could
so,
look at what they do and then get in touch with them and say, "Oh, I noticed you do this. I'd really love to learn more about that. Would you be interested in chatting for 15 minutes or something like that?" That's much better because now you've actually paid attention to what I do. Right.
yeah, I recommend having at least, a little bit of a conversation before you go into, scheduling an appointment, not unless
Yeah.
they ask. I mean, if
Right.
they ask right out of the gate, or they've asked you within like a private chat, and they've asked you to send you that, which of course you could do within the private chat anyway, you should have that
Mm.
ready. But the key thing is that when you're on an event like that, or you're at a trade show or conference, whatever it is, have a means to capture who they are and something that they talked about, so that you can really, when you make the connection request on LinkedIn, it's just reminding them where you met them. And then the next, which then they connect with you. And then the next is, I really was fascinated by what you said about this,
Mm.
or I really liked this, and this is why.
Mm.
Give them something that they said or did, or even look at some other posts that they recently had, something that you can pull from. Look at their profile, look at their website, and why you like it, and then ask a question. I'd love to hear more about this. What do you think about da 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 da? Whatever it happens to be. And that way, it's like the first thing is like, wow, okay, they actually looked at my profile or my business, and they're speaking about something that matters to me, and they want some information. They want to know more.
Yeah.
Well, then that is a very different conversation that they're going to be interested in telling you more.
Yeah.
Okay. And so rather than bombard them with, come on, let's jump in bed right now,
Yeah.
start to build that relationship.
Yeah.
And then from that dialogue, then it's almost, I can guarantee, most people are going to want to then have that reciprocal energy, and they're going to want to know more about you and who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
And then and now you've actually started this conversation and a relationship. It's the beginnings of the relationship. And now you can move to the next stage of, well, let's have a virtual coffee together. And it makes sense that, let's do that. I'd love to get to know you more and hear more about what you do, and share what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, that half hour went really, really quickly, and I could talk to you about this for hours, but let us follow up on what we said. And how can people get in touch with you? What is it you're up to at the moment? I know you have a wonderful networking event. If you need to do some networking, you want to come to Lynn's event. I went to it for the first time last month, and it was fabulous. So I'm going to be going again to the next one. So Lynn, would you share a little bit about that and how people can get in touch with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn. So that's very easy. Our website is petite2queen.com. It's right in the back of my head. Oh, wait, I put it the wrong way. And so you can find out all about us and what we provide. And we have a number of tons and tons of resources for you on our website. I have a new event that I do. It's called the Competitive Edge Networking Event. It is a true networking event for you to create the spark to meet other like-minded business owners and entrepreneurs and executives. And you can find it on, you can just search on LinkedIn for my profile. The event's on Facebook, and the event is on Eventbrite. So it's very easy. It's free, and we have a lot of great conversations, and do breakout rooms. And I love doing that because it helps other people create that opportunity for the spark and to make a genuine connection with someone who could become a great partner, a promoter, someone who could potentially purchase from you, or could become this amazing individual that you're so happy that you were able to meet.
Yeah, so it's petite2queen.com. And Lynn is not joking. She has a lot of great resources on her website. So I encourage you to go there and attend the networking event if you can. It is a really, really good event. I'm not a big fan of networking for my own reason. I'm not very good at it, but you make it easy. It was very easy. And I felt very comfortable doing that networking event. So yeah, I'll be there. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lynn. This was very educational, as always. I'm going to have to go back and listen to recording to get more of what you said. So everybody, pay attention to what Lynn says. It really will make a huge difference in your business. And thank you so much, Lynn, for spending time with me today.
Linda, thank you. It's been such a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.